Both of them were murdered. His body was found without his head. Now they're also realizing that the kids are missing.
And it made me sick to my stomach.
To stop a killing streak, Wilda has to put her own life at risk.
My mom is the only living witness.
If he found out that she turned on him, she'd have been as dead as the rest of them.
I grew up out in the country. Chickamauga, Georgia's about 10 miles outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Shortly after I finished high school, I actually went to college. I was a pre-med major. I let a high school sweetheart get in my way, so I did drop out of college for a while. I then married my first husband on New Year's Day in '84.
Her whole life she wanted children. They had a little boy, which was Bradley, and they had a daughter.
Our marriage ended in '88. When we did get back to Georgia, we were all kind of hanging out at my grandparents' house, and Sam was there.
Sam Thomas had been at all the family dinners with his wife Betty and stepson Howard when Wilda and Regina were growing up. And now, it's like old times when Howard returns to visit as an adult. Like Wilda, Howard is navigating the new challenges of being a single parent.
Howard had a child that he was taking care of by himself, Kelly.
She was 4 or 5 years old. She was Howard's daughter by his first wife, Debbie Weiniger.
This is just what I know of the story. Debbie ran off and left and abandoned the child.
One of the things that really attracted me to Howard was the fact he wanted to be a family man.
The next step seems only logical to Howard and Wilda. Join forces as two single parents, raising their children together.
All of us, Howard, Kelly, my kids, we all moved in together. And so me and Howard, we started more as friends. I don't exactly remember the moment it became romantic. We just kind of gravitated towards each other. It seemed like he was the perfect person to fit in with the family and wanted to be with that family.
But there are those who would break this happy family up.
The court battle started after Debbie disappeared. Her sister and her mother filed for custody of Kelly.
I had heard rumors that Howard had killed Debbie Weiniger and buried her in the basement because supposedly there's no way she would have walked off and left that child. So I don't know.
Wilda and Howard are able to put the malicious rumors to rest when Debbie supposedly shows up at Howard's lawyer's office.
His receptionist said the girl looked like Debbie, brought the papers in here and says, "Here, I'm signed them, I want a divorce." And there was also a document signed giving Howard the custody of Kelly. It was a relief. Legal battles would be over.
But Howard's lawyer is not so certain.
The lawyer asked about it because the signature didn't match him they had on file. I asked Howard what he knew. Finally, Howard admitted he had someone dress up like Debbie and take the divorce papers to Willis Jackson's office. Knowing that he was willing to have someone impersonate his ex-wife kind of was off-nerving. It kind of throws up red flags, but he smooths it out. He was so charming and smooth-talking, you didn't want to think he was wrong. We just, on the spur of the moment, walked into a judge's chamber and got married. Being husband and wife, it kind of gave me some relief knowing that, we still had our relationship no matter what happened. Howard had been a long-haul truck driver prior to us getting together years back. So he decided the best way, to make money, he wanted to drive an 18-wheeler. So Sam and me went in halves and bought an 18-wheeler. When Howard started doing long hauls all the time, wanting to be gone more than he was home, things changed. When the police first called me and told me that they had found our truck, it's been abandoned on a side road, it's been here overnight. And they said, who was driving? I said, Howard Willis, he's my husband, where is he? Finally, the police asked me if they could search my truck. Of course, you can search my truck.
All Wilda thinks they'll find is citrus fruits. But that's not the case.
Howard hauled approximately 700 kilos of cocaine into the state of New York. That really blew my mind. Why on earth would you put everything we had at risk for a drug charge?
Knowing he has no option, Howard turns himself in.
New York DEA offered a closed deal if he testified and gave names of where the cocaine come from, that he would just receive parole. At the time, I'm the only one working. It's wearing on me because I'm doing it all. We're still acting husband and wife to an extent, but there's a great distance between us.
In fact, Howard is openly defiant of Wilda and starts acting like a teenager himself.
I start coming home with kids in my family room and in my dining room. Boys and girls, sleeping bags, blankets, beds, whatever. Howard's story was, I'm trying to get along with Kelly. She's a teenager, and I'm trying to let her have some space and have her friends over. I questioned him about it, and Howard admitted the kids were drinking. I wondered if there was more of a sexual relationship with some of the teenage girls. It's not normal. In August of 2002, Howard called me. He said, oh, I'm just leaving the wedding chapel. Kelly got married, and Adam and Samantha got married. And I'm like,
A grown man taking two teenaged couples to get married. Why? Why would he do that?
I don't know whether he was trying to keep them under his thumb. That's the only thing I can think of. It was a way to keep them close.
the only choice I could make was for me and Howard to split up. When Howard and me first split up, Sam kind of had faded a little bit out of our life because he thought it was all me. Well, Sam didn't realize that it was actually Howard encouraging this and it was going on. But Sam himself actually went to the house one day and saw for himself the house was piled up with a bunch of teenagers and Howard. Sam very much voiced his opinion to Howard that he did not approve of it.
This is when Sam finally washes his hands of the stepson he had once doted on.
Howard and me divorced July of 2002. It's about me and my kids now. And them having a relationship with Sam that they still deserve, because that is their grandfather. In September, my mom was having to have surgery, so Sam was gonna come down and help take care of the cattle. He never showed up, never heard from him. So by Monday, after not hearing from him for several days, I decided to drive up there. Howard said he would go with me. We walk around the outside of the house. The house is locked, tried to look in the windows. So I use a credit card and entered the house. We saw his medicine in the cabinet. He had some high blood pressure and his carotid arteries were partially blocked. So that didn't make sense because Sam took care of himself. So even though the truck's gone, we're still concerned, maybe something's happened. My mom and my uncle drive to Bradley County and file a missing person. And Bradley County told him he was 73 years old, he could go and come as he pleases. We're going on a second week and no contact, and that's definitely not Sam.
Now, with more family and Sam's friends from church, Wilda mounts an intensive search.
We searched the house again, where then we found his overnight bag had been stuffed under stuff. So what he normally carried that we thought was gone is there. One of his church members says, "Hey, that's the wrong chair. That chair belongs there. There's a chair missing."
And when we moved it back, and there was a stain on the floor, like a big stain, like a blood stain.
More worried than ever, Sam's brother decides to follow the money.
My uncle managed to get a hold of credit card statements, which showed his credit card being used at midnight on the 5th. My uncle contacted the local Walmart, and somehow my uncle managed to review the tapes. They showed Howard and Adam Crismer using my uncle's credit cards.
17-year-old Adam Crismer, one of Howard's entourage, the one who recently married his 16-year-old girlfriend, Samantha.
A few days later, I get a letter in the mail saying that Adam And I can't remember, there's several names in the letter. We're setting Howard up for murder. And the letter was from Samantha Crismer.
Wilda turns the letter over to the police, and now they take an active interest in Sam's disappearance. They can't find Samantha or Adam, but they do find Howard.
Howard was being arraigned on federal charges because he was caught using Sam's credit card, so that was a violation of his parole.
Howard is allowed phone calls, which the authorities monitor. One of the calls is to his mother, Betty.
She mentions a storage unit. She can't even fully get the sentence out. And he was like, shut up. But she said just enough that the police caught it and they were like, oh.
The Johnson City Police Department pretty much told me I had to come up there and talk to them if I wanted not to be associated or involved in what was going on. They said, we need you to do us a favor. They fix it where I can go in the jail to see Howard.
Wilda agreed to wear a wire to go visit Howard in jail.
When Wilda tells Howard she's coming, he has a surprising request.
He said, I need you to bring a tape recorder, a notepad, and a pencil. He actually requested himself being taped.
Howard is unaware that Wilda is cooperating with the police.
I have the wire on. They brought Howard in, and as soon as he hits the door, he says, you're too late. He said, I blew their brains out. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I blew their brains out. And it's not making sense.
The detectives know exactly who Howard is talking about because of what they discovered inside Betty's storage locker.
Okay, this is the entrance, locker number 47, approaching the locker. This is the raw video, nothing has been removed.
They found two 50-gallon storage containers. Inside were the bodies of Adam and Samantha Crismer. Adam had been dismembered.
He proceeds to tell me that he shot the kids.
Adam, I blew the brains out.
And that he dismembered Adam because that's what Adam did to Sam.
What did you cut? Adam, what did you cut? The dead man.
He said, I know the family would want me to do the same thing to them as they did to Sam. They arrested him just minutes later. The police department asked me to make one more phone call that night. We went to a payphone across from the jail, and we called Howard's aunt, Marie Holmes, and Betty. So I tell Marie and Betty that Howard told me that he killed the kids. And the first words out of Marie and Betty is, destroy the tape. Within minutes, Betty and Marie were arrested for asking me to tamper with evidence. I continued to see Howard many times because I wanted to know where to find Sam. Finally, he told me to go back down the road from the fire department, that there would be a mobile home set not way off the road with a carport. Within less than 30 minutes, they had found Sam's body.
After almost a decade of delays, Howard goes to trial for the murders of Adam and Samantha Crismer.
They played the tape recording that I had made in the jail that night, and within less than 2 days, they came back with a guilty verdict, and he was given a death sentence on both kids.
As for Howard's first wife, Debbie, hers is still officially a missing persons case.
I just couldn't help but think that if we could have brought him to justice earlier, got the investigation concluded on Debbie, 3 people probably alive today.
I think Betty should have been convicted of murder right along beside Howard.
Betty and her sister Marie both die before they can be tried for their involvement.
It has been quite a journey to a world I never dreamed I'd be involved in. I really share my story because there's got to be more people that probably are living the same life I live, that deny all the signs they see, because you really don't want to think the person that you've built a life with, that's a parent to your kids, or that you're in love with, could ever do so much behind your back. Because the bottom line is, no matter how well you know them, you don't know who they are.